All right, so Safely Kept goes in the Hall of Fame. You all bred her and you owned her for part of her career and then sold her and had sort of a rooting interest the rest of her career. How closely did you follow her after she left your farm?
Very, very closely, because the reason we sold her to Barry Weisborn and Rick Santoli is at that particular time we were doing all of the marketing for Matchmaker Breeders' Exchange. So, the deal was made at a matchmaker, function. And we were very, very close and always included in every venue that Safely Kept was involved in. So we followed her career.
So now correct me if I'm wrong, she wins the Breeders' Cup, but not the Eclipse Award one
Right.
year, doesn't win the Breeders' Cup, but
Right.
does win the Eclipse Award the other year.
Correct. She actually won the Eclipse Award the year that she didn't win the Breeders' Cup. And then the following year she won the Breeders' Cup and didn't win the Eclipse Award.
How does that all happen?
Baffles me. Still don't know.
Should she have won too?
I think so. I really do. I mean,
is it really helping us that we have these tractors going?
I think the tractors are great.
It's
a great sound effect.
Yeah. So the second Breeders' Cup year, you're head-to-head with Dejure down the lane. It looks like Dejure may be inching ahead, and then she surges ahead at the last minute.
Well,
what's it like watching that?
It was phenomenal. We kind of levitated down from the second floor of Belmont. We still don't know how we got to the paddock, but it was a situation that particular day, as we've been told 8 million times, that Dejure jumped the shadow, and we always say, hey, the same shadow was in front of Safely Kept as it was in front of Dejure, and she just happened to be a lot more tenacious, in that particular race than Dejure was.
And the year before, when she actually didn't win, she had put away the horse that was coming to her on the outside, and I believe the jockey was Craig Perret, and he felt that she didn't see Dancing Spree coming on the other side, and
with Cordero.
She would have surged again to win that year. So I do think that coming from the post that she was starting in, it was a phenomenal effort, and she probably would have surged ahead and beat him if she had known.
So she ended up winning 22 stakes, and a couple of them for you as the owner.
Yeah, when she was a 2-year-old.
Right.
Yes.
And I think I saw a picture of one of them. I imagine she was beating horses here by a pole.
Oh, she was. Actually, the biggest piece of trivia on Safely Kept is what horse beat Safely Kept in her first race. And there was a filly called Beans. And Carlos was trainer at that particular time, and in that particular race, DeSormo was on another horse. And he came back and he saw Carlos and said, next time that filly runs, I want to ride her. So Kent rode her, most of the time for us.
And did you know, from after you bred her, did you realize she was going to be this kind of horse?
Actually, if you look at history, this is kind of crazy. The year she was born, Snowden Carter, the editor of the Maryland Horse at that time, called me about some other horses we had running, and I said that we just had a filly by Horatius. And if she ever grows up and to the way she looks right now as a baby, she'll be a champion. So the year she became the champion, he called me back and said, whatever it was,
right.
soothsayer, Hayden's a soothsayer.
Yeah, right.
So, but she was a phenomenal weanling. She was just, and when she came up from Florida, we had sent her down to Eddie Ramsey in Florida to break, to come up here. We went to the track. I didn't even recognize her. She had grown and blossomed, and she was a monster. And she had a hip on her hind quarter, second to none.
Now, you claimed her dam, right, for 11.5.
11.5.
Why'd you claim her? What did you say?
Actually, I give all that credit to Ronnie Alfano. At that particular time, we were in the racing business, not in the breeding business. And it was the last year of Bowie, and pretty much the end of the Bowie meet. And Ronnie said, drew to our attention that Safely Home had won 3 or 4 races at Pimlico the prior year. He said this filly would claim her to come into Pimlico, which, hey, we didn't know anything. It sounded like a great idea. And the very last day of the Bowie meet, Ronnie and King and Dutrow and Leatherberry, they were all fighting for trainer title, that particular year. And Ronnie put everything in the race, everything he had in races. And that day it was raining like crazy. And she actually pulled a suspensory. And she finished second on 3 legs. And so then we had to make a broodmare out of her, which we knew nothing about. absolutely
So
nothing.
you claimed her for 11.5 because you figured she's worth 11.5.
Sure, we had some fun with her. I mean, she had started 80 some times,
Right.
so you figure she was pretty sound,
Right,
you know.
right.
So we thought it was a good idea. You know, I mean, we left it up to Ronnie to claim her.
So I'll let you go after this, but can you just recap the story of how you ended up breeding her to Horatius?
Oh, sure. It's a funny story. We had one nasty little filly that we sent. We had a share. Joan had a share in Horatius at the time, and we sent her down to be bred. And she was a maiden mare, and she was firing at Horatius. And Charlie called me up and said, "I'm not breeding this mare. It's Horatius just because I don't want my horse to get kicked." And so Joanne and I looked at our mares that had been bred that we figured would stand for a stallion, and get bred. And Safely Kept was the next one in line, or Safely Home, excuse me, was the next one in line, and hence Safely Kept. So that's no genius in that at all. Trust me.
Sometimes that's how it works out. Right?
Absolutely. And everybody talks about winning hit. Who the hell's winning hit? Well, he's by a horse called Bull Ruler. So that was enough for us from a pedigree standpoint, to make it work.
And she was a very tough mare, Safely Home herself. I mean, in those days, the purses weren't like this, but she had started a lot of times and placed her won in many, many races. And so she had that durability.
Right. And it sounds like she had, guts and
Oh, she
fight
did,
that
absolutely.
She passed on to.
Plenty.
She had that wonderful hip and wonderful shoulder, and anything out of her that had a similar hip and shoulder performed really
Is that
well.
right?
And it's Safely Home was not a fluke because Safely Home also produced Partner's Hero, who's a graded stakes winner of over 500, and all of Safely Home's daughters have produced graded stakes horses.
Is that right?
Yeah. So I
That's
mean,
amazing.
when we look at the catalog page now and see that family, we bred all these.
Right,
so
right,
it's
right.
kind of neat. It's kind of fun.
I bet. All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
Congratulations.
Appreciate it.